Ham. Let me take that out a little bit so y'all can see. You see Ham. Supposedly, you see father. You see he's the father of Cush, Punt, Canaan, Mizraim, which is Egypt, Nimrod. You know what I'm saying? Nimrod was the son of Ethiopia. It's just showing you that all these descended from Ham. Okay, Ham was born 2440 BC. Cush was born 2342 BC. How is this possible? When they found tombs in Nubia that go back to 3800 BC. You see, we got some serious discrepancies here. You see, and then they show you the so-called Hebrews in Egypt building pyramids. You see, now what's significant about that? What's significant about that is that Abraham was not born until 1675 BC. And so when you look at all the pyramids that were built, see, this is what also crashing shit. Because the flood happens at 2348 BC. This is according to biblical chronology, not African. Or this is, if you go get a Christian encyclopedia or a Judaic encyclopedia, this is the date that they give, 2348 BC. But see, when you go into the chronology of ancient Egypt and you look at all the pyramids that ever built, now Khufu is the largest one that this is the one they want to, show that they was building. That pyramid was built 2589. Well, that's when Khufu reigned. 2589 to 2566 BC. Okay, so that was before the flood. There's no Jews. You feel me? There's no Jews on the planet. There's no Hebrews on the planet. They come from Abraham. When you start talking about the Hebrew, they come from Abraham. And Abraham wasn't born until around 1675, according to the biblical chronology. You see what I'm saying? So when you look at all these pyramids, Khufu, Jedfri, Khafra, Menkaure, all of these were built before the flood. You see? And so, that destroys the myth that any Jews had anything to do with the pyramids. It destroys the flood myth. You know what I'm saying? It destroys the flood myth because you're not supposed to have an Egypt before the flood. You just not. And so when you talk about, I got this date up here, 1876. What's that date? 1876 is the date that the Bible encyclopedia says that Jacob, when Joseph was in Egypt, he asked Pharaoh that his father could come and his brothers could come into Egypt. You understand? Because they was out there in famine. And so that was when Jacob or Israel came into Egypt, and they supposedly came in peacefully. You see, and so Pharaoh said that they could live down in the area of Goshen. And so, but then it talks about after years, Pharaoh died, Joseph died, and there came a Pharaoh that knew not Joseph. Okay. And so under these new Pharaohs, they supposedly enslaved the Hebrews. So from the time of Joseph and Jacob coming into Egypt at 1876, they stayed into Egypt for 430 years, according to the Bible. So the Exodus was around 1446. You see, 1446. So you seeing at the time Jacob Jacob come into Egypt at 1876, that was long after these pyramids were built. You see what I'm saying? Long after them pyramids was built. You talking about Zolja, the first pyramid, 2670 BC. Sneferu, 2612, 2589 BCE. Khufu, all the way down to Menkaure, 25. So these pyramids were built almost 1,000 years, you know what I'm saying, before these people even come into Egypt. Okay, so that dispels the myth. So the Bible is teaching a fraudulent concept of ancient Egypt. It's teaching a fraudulent concept of ancient Egypt. Okay, and so even as we look in here, we talking about the earliest modern humans. You see what I'm saying? And you can see down in the South. You see in the South. You see here in the areas of South Africa, Namibia. Population migrations, 130,000 to 110,000 years ago, and so that's when they start coming north. You see, they were in the South. And so this is why this is the top of Africa. You see, and so this map right here, which I like, you know what I'm saying, because it shows that West Africa at 70,000, they really don't, show how, when they show these maps, they really rarely show West Africa. And so in this map, which I like, it shows that West Africa at 70,000 is older than anything outside of Africa, which means that they didn't just go and leave Africa. They went into West Africa too, 70,000 years ago. And so that show you that long before Mali, Ghana, Songhai, even the Nok, Africans were already in West Africa. And I'm quite sure they was over there dispelling high culture as they were in there at 70,000 years ago. You see, and so again we're showing you at the top all of the types of mineral resources that are in the Nile Valley. You got natron, you got basalt, copper, limestone, alabaster, natron, gold, granite, malachite, and you can see down there in Nubia the gold repositories. You see all through Africa the diamond mines. You see here the rainforest. You see the animal resources. You see the fish that are in all the freshwater lakes. And so you're seeing a plethora of resources that, and this is why the African kings were the richest and queens were the richest royalty on the planet. You see, they were the richest because they had all these resources. Now, as you go up to, as we dealing with pre-dynastic Egypt, let me check to make sure everybody in the house. Let me make sure everybody is in the house. Now, this is a depiction of what they call the battlefield palette. Okay, they found that when they found Narmer, the first king of Egypt. As a matter of fact, where is that at? I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna have to get that out now. I'm gonna have to get that one out now. But what it shows is the little toit. This is before the first king. This is before Narmer. This is before the first. They got artifacts before the first king of Egypt, and we need to understand that. Okay, we need to understand that. And so it shows the toit, the little short toit that they call pygmies. They were all the way down into Egypt. They were all the way down into Egypt. Where's that one with Narma on it? Hold on, fam. That it? Nope. I gotta be ready to pull that when I need it. That's it right there. That's it right there. Okay. So when I need to pull it, I'm gonna pull it. Okay. And so you see here, you see the little short, little Africans, you see the woolly hair on their head. You see, this is the image of Ptah, the image of Bes, the two oldest deities on the planet. You see, and so you see down there Custor. This is where they talking about. They found the Nubian. So they and when they went to Abydos, they could see. You can see how many. You see how many cities. You don't even see Egypt. This is all Nubia. But you see Edfu, Aswan, Kamambo, Naquata. Now you see where it says where Hyrcanopolis. Hyrcanopolis is where the first king Narmer came from. Even where Scorpion, where they talk about, you hear the movie The Scorpion King, they found, and even this palette right here, the battlefield, they found that all at Hyrcanopolis because this was a capital in this area of the Nile before Egypt. Okay, and the first holy or sacred cemetery was at Abydos. And so when they looked at the graves at Abydos, they look very similar to the ones at Custor. So you got to see that the civilization is going down the river. Okay, it's going down the river, and that they're not telling you how ancient this is down here. Man, this is thousands of years older than Egypt. Thousands, not even hundreds, thousands of years older than Egypt. Okay, and so when you look at Osiris and you understand the symbolisms, you see you can see the symbol up under his throne. You see the symbolism of water. That's the Holy Great Lakes region of Central East Africa, the beginning of the Nile. And you got to see that this lotus is symbolic of the Nile. You see, and that the two, I guess you would call, how you have, leaves that come off a plant. You see, and so you see the two leaves symbolic of the two branches of the Nile, also the two upper and lower Egypt. And you see the four sons of Horus symbolic of the four cardinal points, north, south, east, and west. And so our people came down the river, and from that point, they moved through all over Africa, northeast, south, and west, and all over the planet, north, south, east, and west. And so when you look at, and move, let me move the lotus over. It looks just like the delta. When you see the river come down and you look at the delta region, it forms the lotus. So when you see that the stem of the lotus is symbolic of the Nile, you see what I'm saying? Symbolic of the Nile. You see the water, the line, and so the water that that's up under the throne is symbolic. Is symbolic. Where's the rivers at? I mean the lakes. Here we go. It's symbolic of the lakes. Symbolic of the lakes in Central East Africa. Matter of fact, I could just copy that and bring that on down. You see, and so when you talk about the throne, the altar, the altars, the highlands, you see coming up out of the highlands. And see, if I had time, I would get into the temple. That's why when you come into a church, because the cathedral is nothing but a copy of the ancient Egyptian temple. And so when you come into that long hallway that lead, when you open the front door all the way down to the Holy of Holies in a cathedral, that long haul